ultimate power in the universe.
At last we will be lost.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
You are now tuned into LightSaber Radio. If you only knew the power of darkness.
Here it comes. Let's go.
You are now tuned into LightSaber Radio. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello there.
Welcome to LightSaber Radio, the most outrageous Star Wars show on the web. If you haven't already done it, make sure you smash that subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you will be notified of all of our future episodes. Also, don't forget to press that like button. It helps get these videos in front of other Star Wars fans so they can get in on the outrageousness. So how's everyone doing today?
You know what? I'm doing good. I had a nice sleep. Woke up feeling refreshed. Woke up feeling good, ready to go. We're happy. Can't say the same for CJ. Sorry for him, but I feel good.
He got a wedding. He's supposed to be going to wedding rehearsals, and he has
A sick kid.
a sick kid. So he's been at the hospital since like 2 o'clock in the morning. This week has just been crazy. My uncle passed away on Wednesday, so that was kind of crazy. What's going on, Clint? So, you know, trying to deal with all that stuff and then trying to get everything set up for the episodes and, you know, talking to everybody. It's just been kind of hectic. But we got it together. It'll be okay. So from now, Miltos, hopefully I'm saying his name right. Because I probably,
Miltos Yerolemou.
Yerolemou. Okay, I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I'll screw it up. I'll leave that up to you. Hopefully he is joining us here shortly. He did message me this morning and say that he was coming on. So hopefully he gets here shortly. We messaged him the link to the show. So until then, we're going to talk a little bit about our predictions for Andor. Yes. But before we get to that, just got another announcement. Christopher Sham is going to be on the episode this Wednesday. He has done several things for Star Wars, and so that's going to be cool. I've been talking to him for the last couple of days, so hopefully he'll be on the show on Wednesday because we know how this stuff works out. I think it has a lot to do with time zones. That's honestly, I think just the time zone mix-ups is. That's why I try to use Eastern Standard Time with everything, because with Eastern Standard Time, everybody knows Eastern Standard Time, but I guess, well, we know David kind of got mixed up with it because he was in Central Time Zone, and Miltos is, he might be in Europe because he's from Britain. So, it just might be a mix-up in time. Hopefully he reads his messages and he get over here as fast as possible. Let's say, wait a minute, I got a message from him. What did he say? He said, excellent. How long will it be, do you think? How long will it be for, do you think? Probably, I don't know, we run about 2 hours, but you can leave whenever you want. Here, let me reply to him right quick. Talk, Garrison.
Okay. Yeah. So, Miltos Yerolemou, I'm sorry, I'm bad at that name. For those of you guys that don't know him, he's the guy who plays the sword teacher in Game of Thrones. So Syrio Forel, he's in Star Wars, he's in a bunch of stuff. Game of Thrones, obviously, Hubbub, DJ, Star Wars. He was in what was that one show you were telling me about that he was in? Hitman's Bodyguard.
Hitman's Wife Bodyguard. He was Bodyguard. That's not the show. That's a movie.
That's
for about 2 hours.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Show, movie, whatever. It's being shown to people. But he's in that one, and that Kyle thinks that's the funniest movie in the world.
Dude, that movie is so hilarious.
You gotta watch. I remember him in that one.
Yeah, he's the dude that's about to hack him up.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like the main bad guys, like torturous bad guy. He's like the one that's chasing him. He's like the head commander for the bad guy.
Oh, okay. I think I'm getting what you're talking about. Because I remember the bad guy, like the main bad guy. And I was like, that's not him. But I get what you're saying.
I don't know how you don't think that that's the funniest movie ever. That movie is hilarious.
It is funny. I thought the first one was funnier, though.
I thought the second one, they're both funny as hell, but Both of them is funny as hell, but I think the second one is better. Just me personally. I was on the floor rolling. I almost thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was laughing so hard. The only other movie that I've ever watched to make me laugh that hard was Something About Mary. Something About Mary,
Really?
that movie was just funny as hell.
So Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is what you're. Yeah, sorry, this is a whole other conversation. Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is what you're putting at the funniest movie of all time.
No. The funniest movie of all time. I don't know. There's too many funny movies to say the funniest movie of all time.
Okay, at least like is it?
I can sit back and say, I can literally. What's going on, Star Wars team leader? I can sit back and say that it is that. Like, Revenge of the Sith is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about funniest movie.
But like, it's hard to pick the funniest movie because certain types of comedy is different. You know, that's more of like an action comedy. Then you have like Something About Mary, which is more like a romantic comedy. And then you have, you know, so it's different stages when it comes to comedy. Action comedy, it might be one of the funniest comedies ever. Like, as an action comedy, but overall comedy, because it's too hard to distinguish between the two. I don't know. I thought the Hitman's Bodyguard 1 and the Hitman's Bodyguard 2, Samuel Jackson and the dude, they're just funny. Everything that they do is just like in Hitman's Bodyguard 1 when the background just blowing up, they're just in a big gun shootout, and this dude just sitting there having a drink. And he's just telling this dude what happened. This dude's scared. His shit, like, everything's blowing up and cars is crashing and people are screaming and yelling. He just sitting there. They do that shit is hilarious to me. I don't know why it's so funny. Like, dude, this dude ain't even tripping. He just like, fuck you. And I'm like, dude, that shit is funny.
I want to ask the chat, Clinton, Star Wars team leader, what's the funniest movie you guys know? Or one of your favorite funny movies? Because, Flip, I want to watch a funny movie now.
Dude, hopefully, and I know I've been saying this for a while, but I just can't find what I like. I just can't get it to the way that I want it to be. But as soon as the web page is done, we're going to do some watch videos. We're going to be watching a lot of stuff. We're going to start doing some different things like that. I know I've been saying that the damn Hot Rod is pretty funny too.
Hot Rod?
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton said Hot Rod. Okay. I was like,
but it just, I can't. Nobody, like everybody, I guess, to design it ain't designing it right. And I don't have the time to design it myself. So it's like, they get it done and they say, this is what I got. And I'm like, what is this? Like, dude, this ain't even what I said. This is not even close to what I said. And I've had 3 different people work on it. And it's just, it never, like if I could get all 3 of them to work together and use, I don't know. I guess they're just not understanding what I'm saying. Like, dude, I wanted Star Wars base. This one dude, I said I wanted Star Wars base. This dude had flowers and shit. Like, what is this, man? What are you talking about? Then the other person did Star Wars, but it was like all the Star Wars stuff that he used was like from the last 3 movies. Like, I don't want none of this sequel crap on here. What are you talking about? Like, all the graphics and stuff was like, it just wasn't good. And then the one person that got really, really close to doing it the way I wanted it done, then he wanted too much. He was like, I want, like $2,000. And I was like, I'm not giving you $2,000 for designing this. I could design this for $50 and I just don't have time. And it took him forever to do it. Like, dude, I could have done that in a day. I just don't have a day to do it.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not paying for $2,000 for something that took you maybe 2 hours to do. Because it wasn't, I mean, it was cool. He had everything in there that I wanted it to do. But, like, the graphics were just basic graphics. But it looked good enough that it would have worked. I could have fixed things. But it was like, nah, I'm not paying you $2,000 for this. It's not going to happen.
I think one of my favorite, like, funny movies, back on that topic, has got to be, like, one that's coming to mind is Life of Brian. I love that movie. It's so funny. Have you heard of that? I don't
think
one?
I've seen that.
You've seen like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, same guys, except Life of Brian is about this guy named Brian born during Jesus's time. And like he's like living alongside Jesus, but he's like just says like random stuff as he's passing by and people like hear it and they think it's so like So he just starts this whole new religion and dies. It's just like making fun of like, it was just hilarious. I don't know. It was so funny. Like the opening scene, like flipping, like Brian is being born, like in a manger, same kind of Jesus thing. And the wise men come in, they're like laying gifts. And the mom was like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Get out. Like, what? I don't know you." And they're like, "Well, we brought gold." And she's like, "Oh, okay then. Well, come on in. Yep, he's right here." And
I don't know.
Like, they walk out.
It's like in the Hitman's Bodyguard. Like what makes it so funny to me is like when he walks in and Morgan Freeman's his dad, and he's like, "What the hell? Your dad is black?" That shit is just hilarious to me. Like just everything about that. Then when what's her face finds out that his ball got shot off and he can't have kids, like you didn't realize that he only had one ball. Like what the hell? Yeah, I just don't get. There's so many funny things that just like there's so many funny movies that I've seen over the years that it's hard to pick like a favorite funny movie. Like when it comes to like, I have like literally I'd probably have to say my top 5 movies. I don't know what it is. But Star Wars is my number one. My number one. I'll watch Revenge of the Sith over anything. Then probably Matrix. Matrix 1. Matrix 1 was just dope as shit to me. I don't know. Like, I went to the movie theater and seen it like 4 times. Then it'll probably be Blade. I just like Blade. It wasn't all that great. A lot of people didn't like it, but I just really like Blade. The first one was just so dope. Shit. Probably Avatar. I watched Avatar a shit ton of times. Avatar was just dope. I'm excited for the new one. I can't wait till that shit comes out. Because it was just different. It was something that nobody else had really done anything like that. And just the whole concept was just different. I really like that.
It's basically, it's literally the exact same as another movie. I just can't think of what it is. Like the plot.
And then what is another movie that I've watched? Like just, I'm trying to think of movies that I just watched. Keanu Reeves, John Wick. I can watch all 3 of the John Wicks.
John Wick is dope.
I can watch all 3 of them. I probably watched them all 20 times. John Wick is just the shit. But I'm an action guy too.
Dances with Wolves. Avatar is basically Dances with Wolves in space.
Yeah, that makes it better because it's in space. I don't know. I just liked it. And them is like the movies that like I've watched like over and over and over. I watched Dances and Wolves like 3-4 times. Another one of my probably top movies is Legends of the Fall. Dude, I don't know what it is about that movie, but I watched the shit out of that movie. Like the brothers are screwing each other's wives, and then people are dying and they're bootlegging and fighting in wars. They just got everything in that damn movie. It was like, dude, this is.
Don't need to go into all that. No.
That movie was just dope. And I hate Brad Pitt. I can't stand Brad Pitt as an actor, but I don't know what it was. I don't like Brad Pitt as an actor. I think he sucks as an actor. But just that movie, that whole movie, it wasn't his acting. It was just the idea was just a good movie. Interview with the Vampire. I probably watched that 300 times. That's a good movie. And then there's movies that I just watch so many times just because of my wife. She always has on, like, every time Twilight comes on, I have to watch Twilight again. And the only thing I like is the fight scene. So if they're not fighting, I'm just sitting there like, why am I watching this again?
In the last movie, and that's not even in the book.
I listened to the books just because my wife wanted them.
You read the
I listened to the books. The books is way better than the movies.
I read the books. I'm not proud of that fact, but I've read all of them.
I just listened to them. That's all I did. I listened to them because my wife wanted it, so I got her the audiobooks, and then I listened to them just because I had them. I listened to all the Interview with the Vampire, like all the Anne Rice books. I listened to all of them. There's like so many damn books that have to do with Interview with the Vampire. It's crazy. And I listened to all of them. And I was like, dude, this, like, all the books is way better than the movie. The movie is good, but I don't know. I like shit like that though, but like people get mad at me because I be like, dude, I like the originals and the one before that, the one the whatever, the
The Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, Vampire Diaries. I like that shit. I like vampire shit. I don't know what it is. I like
you
vampire
should see,
shit.
it just came out. The
And
Invitation.
Klaus was a motherfucker. That dude was killing everybody. He didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
That dude was gangster as hell.
You should see The Invitation.
The Invitation.
Yeah, it's
Have I
this
seen
movie
that?
that's out right now about it's like a vampire movie. It's actually really cool.
Is
It
it?
wasn't bad.
I'm gonna have to watch.
My wife loved it, and then I liked it because it was like cool vampire.
I don't know. I like vampire shit. I just didn't like Twilight because Twilight was just fucking. Other than the fight scenes,
Yeah.
like what kind of vampires don't drink human blood? Like that's just stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Pussy-ass vampires.
That's dumb as hell. Yeah, see, Bodie agrees with me. Bodie says he has Blade tattooed. I have a Blade tattoo. That's dope.
Interview of a Vampire. I honestly have never even heard of that.
You've never watched Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt and it has
No.
Brad Pitt, it has Tom Cruise in it. It has
What?
yeah.
Brad
Dude.
Pitt and Tom Cruise? Oh,
It has Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise looks so stupid.
He's a motherfucker in that shit. He's trying to get Brad Pitt to be a
Weird.
vampire, and Brad Pitt really don't want to be a vampire at first. Like he don't want to. Then he like bites this kid and fucking turns this kid into a vampire, and then it has what's his face from shit. What the hell is his damn name? Oh man, what the hell? I can't think of his name.
All right, I'll have to watch
Antonio Banderas. Has Antonio Banderas in it, and that shit is dope.
That's
It's
Tom
long though.
Cruise's Best
It's-
acting.
It-
That's
it-
what Bodie says.
Yeah, that shit.
All right.
Yeah,
Sold
it's
me. I'm
that
gonna
shit is
watch
dope. Interview with the Val, because it's crazy because Brad Pitt don't want to be a vampire. Tom Cruise turns him into a vampire, but Brad Pitt don't want to be a vampire. So this dude's like eating rats and shit and stupid shit like Twilight. You know what I'm saying? Then Tom Cruise turns this kid into a vampire. Then she loves Brad Pitt. So they're like, oh yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's not on anything.
I'm pretty sure you can find it on something.
Oh,
It's on something. That's what. Actually, they got a TV show coming out about that shit. Okay, we've been sitting here talking 17
Yes,
minutes
I'm
about
sorry.
some other shit.
Damn.
Okay, so let's
Talking
give.
about Star Wars?
Yeah, let's talk about some Star Wars because we got like it's literally a few days until Andor comes out. Like it's literally like 4 days. So let's give our predictions of Andor. Hopefully, because he asked me what time. He said, "Excellent. How long does it run? How long does it think it'll go for?" I said 2 hours, but you can leave whenever you like. So I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know.
It runs about 2 hours, but you are welcome to leave whenever you like. Yeah, I mean, just
Maybe
I
he
don't
wants to
understand.
join late or something. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, okay, Andor. What do I think? Andor. I have a bad feeling, and I don't really want to say this, but I have a feeling that there's going to be no Force or Jedi in this shit at all. And it hurts my heart because to me, Star Wars is about the light and the dark side and shit like that, and and lightsabers and shit. But I have a feeling that there's going to be none in this whatsoever.
See, I'm not too because like Mandalorian didn't have that much Jedi Force stuff either until Luke showed up. I'm not too upset about it. I'm like, I'd rather have no Force or anything than like Force that's like stupid and bad and doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I'm not too. I don't think like I obviously prefer Jedi and Force and stuff, but if we get a good Star Wars, like I'm okay with that.
What do you
But
think
I think-
on the
I-
prediction side? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen within the show itself?
Dude, that's why I don't know because there's like so much empty space. Like we know nothing about this character, so like there could be anything that happens. I don't know if it's gonna start from like him, like how he gets into the rebellion. Because I'm still hung up on the fact that he says he's like I've been in this fight since I was like however
6.
years old, 6 years old.
Yeah, he's 6
Been in
years
this
old.
fight since I was 6 years old. Like,
I wonder if they're gonna have flashbacks
yeah, like
of him being a kid.
so
Because
has he
that really
always been in
doesn't
the
explain
Rebels or
shit
what?
if he, you know what I'm saying? Like, you
Yeah.
didn't explain nothing in that fucking statement at all whatsoever.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just want some explanation, I guess. I also what I really want to see is I want to see more of like we talked about this a little bit when we were watching the Bad Batch, but like I want to see more of like what the Empire was like. Like why is the Empire so bad that we're rebelling? Because like you
Well,
see
we
those
know
old
why
memes on.
they
Well, but-
enslaved everybody and they started
no.
conquering planets and then they
Yeah,
blew up
but-
Alderaan and well, I mean Alderaan comes after this, but
Yeah, but
still,
you've
it's
seen,
the
like,
Empire's
those
evil.
No, shut up. You seen those memes where it's like, he's like, you mean I blew up that planet full of space terrorists? He's like, you captured my friends. You mean the space terrorists? Like, you cut my master in half. You mean the guy who was space terrorizing my Death Star? Yeah, I killed him. Like, you know what I mean? So a lot of it's like, oh, they kind of got a point. Like, they are a bunch of space terrorists. So now I want to see, like, why is the Empire so big and bad? You know what I mean?
It's
I
the
wanna see what
freaking
it's like.
Empire. They enslaved the Wookiees. They enslaved everybody. They destroyed the planet. They destroyed Zeb's whole planet.
But
Killed
you
his whole
don't- Have you
people.
seen that in a movie yet?
No, but that's what they're gonna show in this thing. They're gonna show that.
That's what I
Well,
mean.
at least I
Like,
hope they
me
show that.
in a movie.
Well, you seen it. I mean, you already know it's bad. Everybody in the galaxy is scared of it. They showed that in the Bad Batch, how bad shit is.
No,
They showed
it's
it in
fake
Rebels.
news. It's fake media. I won't believe it till I see. It's fake news.
Because you got to understand that this is not going to really. Andor is super far into the future. This is freaking like 2 years before Luke and Obi-Wan go to the Death Star. It's like right before the Death Star is, you know what I'm saying, being
it?
built. So, I think the Death Star is being built right when this is going on, and that's how they're trying to get the information, as we seen in Rogue One, to figure out how to blow this damn thing up. So this is going to be like right before this.
Like
So it's not
5 years
I think
before Rogue One.
so. I think it's going to be more like, you know what I'm saying, like we're already going to see that the galaxy it's just jacked up. The galaxy just sucks at this point. Kenobi showed us like 10 years, you know, like 5 years prior to that, and it was already jacked up. You know, now it's going to be really, really bad. But I don't know if they're going to show us why it's so bad, because it doesn't fit the timeline. Like, I think that's what, like, we're seeing it in like Rebels. We've seen it in the Bad Batch. What's going on? Like, he's basically now Palpatine is the Emperor, and he's like telling, like, kill these people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they think they're going to be rebels, or they think they're going to just kill them.
Yeah, they're bad people. Kill them.
And just kill all. But
They're
I think that's
criminals.
what we're seeing. And then we see it in like Rebels, how what the Empire is doing. And the Rebels would be like right around the time of right before this, right before Andor, right during the time of Andor. So I don't know if they're going to show us like why the Empire is so bad. It's just kind of like it's the Empire. It's like a dictatorship. So, you know, we already know why it's so bad, because then they force shit on to people and make
They force shit onto people.
you know what I'm saying? They just like force the galaxy to follow their rules.
Golly.
Nobody wants to follow nobody's rules. That's why we like being free. Even though we're really not free, because we got more laws than them. Just like, if you look at like all the laws and all the
we have
amendments
so
to the
many
law,
laws.
dude, it'll take you. Well, I know you're going to school for business
Yeah,
law. Just
bro,
look at all the
it's
business law.
bullshit.
Just imagine all the other laws. Like, I read one time in a thing that we're like the 10th freest country in the world. There's like
Yeah, we're not the freest country.
there's like 9 other countries that are freer than us because they have
Yeah.
less laws than we have. Like, but
At
we.
least not anymore. Don't say that. But
So that's kind of crazy, but
one thing I am excited for, because I'm just so excited for a dark Star Wars. Even though it won't have Jedi, the fact that it's going to be a dark Star Wars, I think, is a really good thing. Because if this show ends up really succeeding, that shows Disney that, hey, people like a little bit of dark and gritty in their Star Wars. And so hopefully Disney will take that and be like, all right, let's make like, now we can make Revan or Bane or like some actual dark Force stories. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of excited for that. Just that darkness. I don't know. I guess I miss that darkness. Maybe I'm a vampire, huh?
well, I mean, it all depends on It all just depends on the situation. I don't know. I just have, like, I know that it's going to be darker and grittier. I mean, we see it in the trailer.
Right.
You know, it got that more dark, gritty type of thing. That cussing in it. We know that it's basically PG-14 or whatever. That's what they rated it as. So it's going to be something that's meant for teenagers, young adults. So I think that we're going to see a lot more.
Well, like, I mean, I was going to save this for news, but like, one of the they granted an early screening for some critics, and it is critics. Like, critics aren't always like, they don't always agree with fans, but critics say it was like amazing, like the best spin-off series so far. They call it complex, mature, and the best Star Wars spin-off series so far. Which is
a good thing. I mean, if that's really what it's going to be.
So it's going to be better than Mandalorian? Like, let's go.
No, I don't. It's going to be hard to beat the Mandalorian. Because
I'm just saying that's what the critics said.
Yeah, the Mandalorian is more Star Warsy. It's more got that Star Wars feel because it's about Mandalorians. Mandalorians is a character that's based on Star Wars. It's something that Boba Fett was. So it's going to be hard to, to really push that narrative when it comes to something that, is based on Star Wars, but it's more like an action war type series, more like MASH than it is. Well, MASH was kind of a comedy war type thing, but you're getting more of that. I'm getting more of that type of vibe, like that military, what's going to happen in type of thing. Yeah, so it's not really. I don't see it being that type of thing.
To your credit, like, critics don't always like. Critics sometimes have really stupid reviews compared to what fans think. You know what I mean? So who knows what? Like, don't necessarily trust critics. Because, like, you look on, like, Rotten Tomatoes, like, critics will rate something really high and all the fans trash on it.
It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's hard for me to, I don't know how to say it. Oh, here we go.
There he is.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kyle.
One of us got to do it. The other part, we both can't do it at the same time, Garrison. What's going on, sir? How are you doing?
Hello, my friends. How you doing?
We're doing well.
Great. Awesome. We can hear you good. We're all set up. Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Very good. It's my pleasure. I've literally just got back from Croatia, so.
Oh, no way.
So you just caught me. Yeah, back from. I've just been filming something out there. So, yeah. So it's great to speak to you guys.
Any sneak peeks or no? Can't say anything.
I don't know if I can. I don't think I can.
Close.
No, I don't.
It was worth a shot. It was worth a shot, right?
Well, can we guess? Does it have something to do with sword fighting?
Yeah, but I don't do no sword fighting, unfortunately, in it. I am a man of no weapons in this show.
Oh, okay.
Dang, okay.
Yeah, because as we've been talking, I've been going back and forth. I've been watching some of your training videos and stuff on YouTube, and I'm like, man, you like really know how to use a sword. You're not like just a character that just plays somebody to use the sword. You know how to use a sword.
Right.
Yeah, I did. I've kind of had a bit of experience doing it, so yeah, it makes a difference.
So you have like real life experience with like swords or fencing, then?
Yeah, I worked for the Royal Shakespeare Company for a few years, and they obviously their shows always require a sword choreographer, and I love all that stuff. So I had worked with some fantastic fight choreographers, and I found I had a very natural aptitude for it. I could learn.
Awesome.
choreography quite well. I was also a dancer when I first started out, so learning choreography was, kind of something that I was used to, and
Right.
so when I was asked about this is before I even got the part, but when I was asked when I went for my casting for Game of Thrones, they asked me if I had experience as a sword fighter, and for the first time on pretty much any actor's CV, it was true instead of a lie.
That's always a good thing.
It's like, actually, yeah.
like we always have this thing when we say as far as us actors are concerned is that there's always three things that are on an actor's CV that are probably a lie, which is horse riding skills, tap dancing, and a particular ability to do an accent.
Oh,
Because
dang.
you always put them
Right.
down so you could get opportunities to get put seen for a job. But most of the time, no one's had any experience. But for me, I actually did have sword
Yeah.
fighting experience, but
And
it was
action
a
experience
requirement.
too, sounds like.
And of course, since then, I've learned a lot, and I've kind of worked with
Mhm.
people, and I've curated my own sword class. So that's what I do when I go to conventions. Is
Oh, shoot.
I yeah. So that's why it developed. It developed because I was doing conventions, and uh, I was bored of sitting behind a desk and signing
Right.
autographs. So I thought, I'm going to do something a little bit more interactive. And so I thought to myself, it wasn't my idea. It was someone who was running the convention that I was at, and there was someone who became George R. Martin's one of his assistants, and she said to me, you should do a class. People would love it. And I was like, I can't do a class. I'm just an actor. And she said, no, no, do it. And so I got thrown in at the deep end because I agreed to it, and I completely busked it. I was like, I'm just going to do the stuff that I learned for Game of Thrones, and that's it. And funny enough, Maisie Williams was there at the time as well. So we
Oh,
did a little kind of like demonstration with people,
right.
and of course it brought the house down, and everyone loved it. And so I thought to myself, okay, this will be fun, but I need to do my homework. So I went away and I did some, studied a bit of. What I basically ended up doing was that I was interested in almost like a interactive discussion about the difference between what we see on TV and in the
Mhm.
movies when it comes to sword fighting, and how that compares to historically what a duel would be like, or what it would be like living by with a sword in your hand, because obviously that was a reality for people for a very, very long time. And
Right.
so I like to kind of compare and use examples of what I would consider very good choreography, or something that feels authentic, and times when it's just showing off, because
I
that's okay
actually
too.
have a
Right.
few clips that we can play right quick of you teaching. So let's do that right quick because I thought they were hilarious.
Hilarious. What kind of
Yeah.
clips are you
But
talking
there's no
about?
doubt about it. There is you
Oh,
are
right. Okay.
reading each other. It's like, and it's interesting. I mean, I can't say that it's wrong. There's no such thing as wrong. It's just sometimes there's unsafe, right? But no, but it's like it's about. For me, when I watch that, I go, okay, that's dangerous, but that's good dangerous as well as bad dangerous, because what I'm seeing is two people really improvising. Like, I don't know where the next blow is because you don't. Yeah? So that's one extreme. How do you get that feeling? Yeah,
I like the way that you said it's just a little dangerous. It's good dangerous and bad
that's
dangerous.
just something we're not going to
Like we're
find.
fighting with swords. It's super dangerous.
I'm interested in finding how do you make it that thrilling when you're watching it going, oh wow, okay, but yet having control at the same time. So another two things.
And we had this one I liked.
These are all shot in in Texas. I recognize
No
the
way.
carpets.
I like because he just walk around pushing people over. That's cool. I wish I could do that.
Is that how they trained you too? They just push you over?
Well, it's a really simple thing. It's like if someone can walk up to you and nudge you and you'll fall over, or if you don't have any balance, then that's literally the fundamental. That's like rule number one of sword fighting is like is your stance.
Right.
Your stance is the most important thing because there's no point being an excellent sword fighter if someone can just walk up to you and kick you in the shin and you fall over, because then you're going to be very, very
Yeah.
He's gonna be very, very dead.
Well, because I mean, you get taught the same thing in martial arts or in boxing. You know, it's all about your stance. You got to have, you got to have that stance. You got to have, if you don't have no balance, somebody just gonna push you over, and then you're pretty much on the ground. That's not a good place to be at. But I thought it was cool. I was watching. I was like, he's just walking around pushing people over, and I'm like, that got to be the greatest job ever, just to be showing people how to do stuff, and then. It's like, there's no mistakes. Like, what do you mean there ain't no mistakes? You're sword fighting. It's very dangerous. If somebody comes at you with a sword and you got a sword, you got to be able, you might want to know what you're doing because you're about to die. So I thought that was hilarious. So, and that was one of the things that that caught me off guard with your sword fighting skills, that they didn't let you use a sword in Star Wars. I'm looking through the clips and I'm looking at you and you're standing behind Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, and you're just basically, you're there for like 5 seconds to watch, the planets get blown up. And I was like, really? This dude, he got like actual sword fighting skills, and y'all didn't let him fight at all? Like,
And
why
those
would
of us
y'all
like
do
who have
that?
seen Game of Thrones, like, give this man a lightsaber, please.
I managed to choose my own blaster, and that was a thrill. When the armory comes in from Lucasfilms and they're like, so which blaster do you think you might use? It's not as cool as getting to choose your own lightsaber, but it definitely is.
That's still pretty
That's
cool.
that's a thrill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Dang, okay. I didn't know they let you like choose your blaster too. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
What was the whole I guess atmosphere like in like Star Wars set and even some of your other sets, I guess?
Well, the thing with the Star Wars, of course, and this seems like such a long time ago because so much has happened since we were making a Star Wars movie, and one hadn't been made for years and years, and the expectation was huge, and there was so much secrecy, and none of
So
us
that
knew
really
what was
weighed on
going
you guys then.
Well, it's because it
Right.
wasn't just that we were sworn to secrecy. We weren't told anything. We weren't told who we were playing, what we were doing. We saw no scripts. It was all completely just we had no idea what was going on. And even on the day we were filming, which is when we got to see the scripts, that was even that was like, here's your script, read it, give it back to me in 20 minutes.
Wow.
I was like, okay, so we can't just kind of hang on to it for the day. No, you've got to give it back.
Dang.
They were so strict. But of course, there were clues every time you had a costume fitting, and then when you got to see the drawing of your character that the designer had made, these things were suddenly went, oh, okay, this is interesting. But you're kind of like piecing it together like a detective. And then when we did end up filming, I remember my first day, I got into makeup, and I was in my chair waiting to film for about 8 hours, and then they just went, "Oh, we're never going to get to you. Come back tomorrow." And we just we ended up just not getting. We didn't get to shoot anything that day. But the trouble is that when you're working in Pinewood, and you could see, it wasn't green screen. It was all practical, with hundreds of extras. It was a very complicated scene, particularly that Maz Kanata, because there was lots of stuff going on, and they wanted to pick up little moments. as well as foreground shots, and so these things take a long time. And JJ was so patient and also amazing, his levels of energy, that he could do that day after day after day after day. Such a huge undertaking, organizing, choreographing, managing that many people. That's the real skill of a director, is managing hundreds of people every single day.
So I'm gonna throw up the part that you're in, because some people might not know where you're at, because it was kind of hard for me. I seen when I was watching Game of Thrones, and I seen you, and I was like, I've noticed this. And then when I went through your IMDb, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, that's this, like, where is he at in Star Wars? I don't remember seeing him in Star Wars. I thought you were in the bar scene in 8, and I was like, no, that's not right. But I found the clip, so we'll play the clip right quick and let everybody see your part that you played in Star Wars, so they'll kind of know, because they might not know. Let's see where we at here. I gotta find it. Which clip it is? No, that ain't it. No, yeah, this is it. Okay. So you're actually okay. Why is it just playing the picture? What
It's
happened?
not working.
Yeah, it's not working. I don't know. So you're the dude right there in the
I'll tell you a
green,
story.
in the green coat, right?
I'll tell you. Yeah, it was actually yellow, but it comes out a bit green
Yeah.
on the final cut. I tell you a story about this scene. I was supposed to have an argument with that animatronic dude, that alien, who's kind of smoking cigars, and he's got like a companion on his arm, like a gangster dude, and I was supposed to have this argument with him, and we didn't rehearse it. He was obviously an animatronic, and I didn't know how many people were operating him, and I certainly didn't know what he was going to do. And so JJ says, "Okay, action," and it starts coming to life, and it's like spluttering and talking and moving and winking at me and blowing smoke in my face, and I'm completely like surprised. I had no idea it was going to do that. It was like alive, and there was
Like
three
this machine
guys.
came to life.
Yeah, 3 guys inside it operating the face, the arms, and other bits and pieces. And I started trying to have an argument with it, but the trouble is the guys couldn't hear me, and I couldn't hear the guys making sounds. And I didn't know what it was going to do from one minute to the other. And then JJ comes over and he goes, "Miltos, you do know how to have an argument, don't you?" And I was like, "I do know how to have an argument. It's just that I don't know.
I can't
I
hear.
don't know what it's going to do. We're improvising, but none of us can see each other. He's got no eyes. They're inside him. They don't know what I'm doing."
So we're all blind in this.
And so we did it. We were doing this over and over again, and it was like I was waiting for it to stop talking, and I could gibbering away.
We're breaking up a little bit here.
Yeah.
Terrible. But that's what happens when you to improvise something that
That just sounds like it would be just difficult to be talking to an can't even say the word. Inanimate objects.
Inanimate object. But
yeah.
it was very animate. It was very animate. It's just I didn't know when it was going to be talking or doing its thing. So it was all a bit of a guesswork. And because it was only a small moment, we weren't going to spend ages trying to get it right. It's like, you've got to hit the ground running on things like that. And it was my first day, and I was like, this is blowing my mind.
I bet you that would be hard. So if you could compare like the sets of Game of Thrones to what you did on Star Wars, What would you say would be the biggest differences?
Not a lot of difference. The difference is in the technology that the characters use.
Yeah.
Because obviously, one rides an X-wing and one rides a dragon. So it's
Right.
like different, both pretty things. But that's the only difference. You got to remember the first season's budget on Game of Thrones, even though it was quite high, it was nothing compared to basically. If you imagine or you remember it, it was all very character driven, and the big set pieces, the visual set pieces, didn't really start appearing until later on in the seasons. But it felt expensive. I remember Sean Bean telling me that, and obviously he had a lot of experience of working on big budget productions, and he said, "I've never done a TV show on this scale before, never."
Wow.
And he was right, because that was just the beginning of it. Obviously, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, but it was very similar. And of course, with Star Wars, it was similar because, of course, it was all practical. And Maz Kanata's the castle was a real thing, a real place that had been carefully created and filled with characters from all over the galaxy. So that was exciting. My scenes were very intimate in Game of Thrones. It was just me and one or
Right.
two other people, but in Star Wars, obviously, we were in a scene surrounded by so many different characters, and that was one big difference, from my point of view.
One thing I gotta ask, especially about Game of Thrones, right? Because your character in Game of Thrones is awesome. Everybody loves him. Like, I don't think anybody has anything bad to say about him. But when my wife heard we were going to be talking to you, she was super excited because she loves your character a lot, especially, and she is dead set on the idea that Syrio lives. Like, he didn't die and he escaped with his wooden sword and beat all those guys. What would you say to that?
Once upon a time, I would have said yes, he did escape, but I've come to an acceptance of the sacrifice that Syrio Forel made. There's
Yeah.
a thing I always say, that these things have to happen, because without them, they can't be a springboard for the protagonist, who of course is
Right.
Arya Stark. And there's so many stories where the protagonist or the hero has to overcome something to begin its journey, and so, or her journey, and it's the same. You think about Luke Skywalker losing Obi-Wan Kenobi, or forget his aunt and auntie.
Oh, Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Right.
I mean, those poor
Right.
those poor people don't get a second, look back over the shoulder. But obviously, Ben, who he barely knows, is obviously heartbroken about. But that there is a reason why that happens, and
Right.
you need that for the protagonist to kind of. It's the catalyst. It's the catalyst.
Right. It's a springboard for him
And you
to
see
succeed.
it all the time in stories of heroes. They have to overcome something to begin their journey. And I think it's another one of those examples. It also is very good that, in the same way as Star Wars, the Syrio's words, like Kenobi's words, echo in their
Yeah.
heads continuously. So in the books, it's very clear that Arya, all the way through the book, she keeps repeating the words like a mantra, the lessons, and it kind of keeps him alive in her head. And I think, to help that, if she'd seen his death, I think she would not have the same reaction so that the fact that it's not witnessed, so there isn't the trauma of it, allows the kind of character to kind of live on, if that makes sense, in the same way that
No, definitely.
when Darth Vader strikes down Kenobi, it's not like he's really killed him. He's kind of disappeared before he's done it. It's almost like he's made the choice himself. He hasn't been killed. He's just decided, okay, this is the time to let go and to move on into the other dimension. And I think a similar thing happens with Syrio, in the sense that he becomes an echo that lingers, you know, and
Right.
so he's always there, in the same way that you always hear Ben Kenobi talking about, you know, the Force and use the Force, Luke. So
I like that.
that's kind of a connection, and that's something that I've always kind of thought about. Yeah. So unfortunately, he did.
He did die. I like that though. That's awesome.
Yeah,
It was
that
a
is
noble
awesome.
sacrifice.
Well, I don't like it, but I like the idea of it.
I don't like that the series ended.
Oh, I actually didn't mind it. I like the ending.
I don't think it should have ended though. It was too great.
Oh.
Like it was. I mean, it was
Yeah, they
awesome.
could have gone
Fast,
on, couldn't
but-
they? They could have gone on. Tell me something, guys. Have you been watching House of the Dragon?
Yes.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had. I'm just so busy because not only do I do this podcast, and I have another podcast that I do where I talk about Star Wars books and stuff like that,
Right.
and then just trying to keep everything in order and talk to everybody and do everything that I've been doing. It's like I barely even like it took me like
enjoy it.
3 weeks to watch Top Gun. I had it for like 3 weeks before I could even watch the new Top Gun. They were all talking about it, and I'm like, dude, I haven't seen it yet. Be quiet. I haven't even got the chance to see it. But I really, it's really hard for me to get time to sit down, especially with a new series. I kind of like to let it play out for a little while, and then I'll binge watch it when I get a chance. I'll take a day and just won't do anything else and just binge watch something. That's usually how I end up watching most of my content anymore. Other than Star Wars stuff. Because when it comes to Star Wars stuff,
I watch
then
House of Dragons.
I have to watch it just because, I mean, we're talking about it, and then Star Wars is like my favorite thing ever. Oh, are we frozen?
I think you froze.
I think he froze. I hope not. I hope he can just click back on. He might. Yeah, he froze. He lost signal. But
Well, I like House of Dragons. I thought House of Dragons is not too bad so far.
I've been wanting to watch The Lord of the Rings. Like I even got Amazon
I'm
Prime.
scared.
Just
I've heard some bad things.
I don't know. I mean, like, oh, here you go. He's
Oh,
back.
sweet. Okay. You too.
Lost you
All
for
right,
a
we got
second
you
there.
back.
I don't know what happened. My Wi-Fi seemed to look like it was healthy and strong, so I'm sorry about that.
Hey, it happens. I'm
what were
plugged
you saying
in
about-
wirely, and it sometimes it'll say your Wi-Fi is messed up, and I'm like, dude, I'm plugged in through a wire. What are you talking about? So I don't get it. It's the internet. I don't try to figure it out no more. But like with the House of Dragons, like I don't have the time to really watch, you know, a lot of content. I'm just so busy, and then so I usually let something play for a while, and then I'll binge watch it and catch up. Other than Star Wars, because of course the podcast is about Star Wars, so that's the one thing. I'll get up extra early in the morning and watch stuff before I get to work. You know, I'll wake up at like 2:00 in the morning and watch, you know, whatever episodes coming out, take down any notes and everything, and then go about my day and do all the rest of the stuff. So that way, when we come on to do the podcast, I have my information and I'll usually do it like that with the Star Wars. The rest of the content, it's just one of those things where I get to watch it when I get time.
Yeah, why do
That
you
makes
ask?
sense.
Have you been watching it? Are you involved?
I
with
have
it
been
at all?
watching it. Yeah, I like it very much. I think it's very good.
Yeah, I
really
like it. It
I really
holds up
like
well. It
it.
hasn't. I was expecting, because it's a spin-off of a show I like, I was expecting to be disappointed, but I haven't been, so it's good.
No, the acting is sensational, isn't it? The acting, the
Yeah,
characters, the story is really interesting and is kind of I see what they mean now about it being a bit more intimate. But to be
right.
honest, my favorite stuff of Game of Thrones was always the political intrigue, always the
Me
thing
too.
of who is going to get it in the neck today. That
Right.
that was always the exciting thing because you never knew
Mhm.
what mistake or one foot you're going to put wrong, and then your house is going to come crashing in. That was always really the peril of
Right.
what people did, the choices of their actions and the consequences and the
Right.
betrayal and all of that stuff I found the most exciting. And
And
so because House of Dragon is really just about that. It's about a family
right.
literally splitting apart. That's
Right.
it's really exciting, and the acting is just off the charts. I mean, it was always going to be.
Oh, and I
Well,
gotta
I
go
think
watch
with
this. Y'all making me want
yeah.
to watch it even more now.
Yeah,
Well,
believe
I'm
with
gonna
it,
have
Game
to
of
believe it.
take
Thrones
a
and
day off.
with both of those shows, Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, because there's all this like chess movement and all these moving pieces going around, and all this intrigue and all this betrayal, the acting has to be spot on, or people are going to get caught up in like the actors and stuff. But I think one of the reasons the story is able to work so well and people are able to get so just wrapped up when they're watching it is because the acting is just spot on throughout all of it. That it feels so real, and even all of the characters feel so authentic. And so that's like as great as the writing was without the acting, I don't think the writing would deliver the same.
No, because there's stuff that goes on, and this is what is really interesting. You can see um, a very confident form of storytelling.
Right.
So a lot of the time, what you'll find when you watch stuff like this is that, you use the visuals will tell the story. It will convey um, the emotions because of the way that it's shot, either a set piece or and sometimes it doesn't require any dialogue at all. It's all action, and that can sometimes work. There are amazing passages in the second film of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which are brilliant visual storytelling. When you've got a director who really knows what they're doing, and episodes of Game of Thrones that Neil, how dare I forget his name? Neil,
A lot of names to keep up with.
Oh,
I do it all the time.
you know the one. You know the one I'm talking about. Neil, I want to say Jordan, but it's not Jordan. It's Neil
Marshall.
Marshall. Thank you so much. Yeah, Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall does a very similar thing. He's very good at visual storytelling, but he fills it with characters that you really, really, he makes you kind of follow a story without a visual story of a character, and kind of get you really rooting for them, and then kind of dispatch them, and that's how you kind of
Yep.
generate like
That's the nice way to put it, I guess.
yeah, a good generator, empathy, and because the whole point is that you only can feel the peril if you are emotionally invested in
Mhm.
either the character or the story, and if it doesn't exist, then of course it doesn't matter how many people you kill off. It won't move you, or it won't
Right.
matter to you, and the most important thing is it's got to matter. So people like that can do it, but to be honest, the way that they shoot House of the Dragon is that they let shots go on for a long time. So once before the dialogue begins and after the dialogue ends, something happens, and they keep it in, because what it does, it messes about with your perception of the character. Because the best way that I would say that the best thing that Game of Thrones, or the phenomenon that is George R. Martin and his imagination, is that it creates characters that we, 1 minute rooting for, and the next minute we're like, what? What's
Yeah.
just happened? And vice versa, ones that we really hate, and then who we end up falling in love with, like Jamie Lannister.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I got a quick question for you because one of my favorite comedies of all times is Hitman, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and you played Carlo on there. And what was it like working with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson? Because I know they're both hilarious, and just to work with them, what was that like for you?
It was like a dream come true. Samuel L. Jackson is the I don't know how to describe him, but he's like he's not like an actor like other actors. the man brings so much of his charisma and like you think about all the characters that he's played. Like think about that character he played, the one that really kind of brought him to everyone's attention in Pulp Fiction.
Uh-huh.
Not a particularly likable character.
No.
Not particularly like amenable or friendly or any of those qualities that you'd probably look for in someone that you want to trust and spend some time with. This guy, it makes you fall in love with him for all the wrong reasons, and it's like this.
Right.
This is that. There is something about particular kind of actor. I guess people use the word stars a lot, but there are particular actors who I understand why people call them stars. Is because they stand out a little bit more, and they bring something of themselves every single time. You know, it's like there's something that you recognize, and you kind of want. You know, you kind of have a desire to see that. So, and then there's a kind of effortlessness, and you know, so it doesn't matter who he plays. Literally doesn't matter who he plays,
Right.
and he's played pretty much every kind of trait of humanity, you know, in his career. He still brings this kind of effortless kind of. I don't know what it is. If it is something that I wish I had as an actor, I'm just a bag of nerves most of the time. But it was a joy.
We love your acting. I mean, the parts that you have played have just been awesome. It's just like
Characters.
I mean, I don't know how to like describe Samuel L. Jackson other than that motherfucker, because that's just who he is. He just does shit that just is not particularly known in the industry as, you know, things that other people do. They just don't do the things that he does. And I
love the fact that my highlight was, of course, being shot in the head, being called a motherfucker, and then being shot in the head. I feel like I have literally died and gone to heaven. That's my bucket list. One of my bucket list TikToks.
That was,
for sure.
you know,
It literally is too.
you know, just watching it, because I was, you know, I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, dude, this shit is hilarious. Like we were actually talking before you came on the show, like one of the funny, like our top favorite funny movies. And I said, that got to be one of the funniest movies ever. And I just, you know, I could just see it being like a big game the whole time you're on there. Like, y'all all supposed to be serious and acting, but everybody's playing practical jokes and doing crazy stuff. And just like, can you guys focus there? I need to get the shot. Because it just seems like that's just who Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson is. Like, somebody's going to be constantly playing practical jokes and stuff. And that's like, dude, that would be so hard to like act with them, because, you know, it just. And then I hear Selma Hayek is like that. She's real, you know, she's serious, but then she gets in her little goofy moods. And it's like, dude, that would be so hard to shoot that movie, because it's so hilarious. Everything that happens in that whole thing is just funny. And it's like, dude, how can you concentrate to get through that? I mean, I guess that's one of my questions. Like, how did you get like into character in that part, working with these people that are just funny all the time? That's all they do is just crack jokes and, you know, just have fun all the time. It's like, how do you get into that serious moment?
I mean, unfortunately, my scene is kind of, I have to play it straight. You know, I have to play. I mean, no matter how ridiculous it is, but I have to play it straight. Like I believe that I've caught him and that I finally get to kill him. Right? I have to play it like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of different to when there's some fantastic set pieces in that film and in the first film, which are, I have no idea how they shot that without a straight face, but you can tell that they didn't. You know, that there is the director, a British guy who is very well aware of how amazing the success of this movie, which they never thought was going to be a big hit. You know, they made this movie with a feeling like, yeah, it's going to be a cute little, you know, independent film that has got some really nice you know, characters in, great acting, and, you know, like, it's just like a couple of actors having great fun. But of course it really kind of took off and became a hit. And so when we were shooting the sequel, it was like very clear, like, this is like, wow, this is really fantastic that we're making this. And so there's this sense of joy and fun making a movie like that. It's very technical, but it's you can see that people like, especially Ryan Reynolds, who, you know, is very good at making everyone feel very relaxed and at ease. Because he's such a dumbass, so, you know, that's what. But it is, you know, that's what he does so well. He plays the kind of charming dumbass, and so he makes everyone feel relaxed. And so I think you're always doing your best work when you're relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, you go to work, especially people like me who just turn up for a day here and a day there. It's kind of really tough because you were like, everyone else gets to kind of like, you know, get used to it. And you're in there and you've got to deliver the goods on the day. And
That's
it's like,
true.
there's no fucking around. You just got to come and do it. And that is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. You know, I don't underestimate what it is like working opposite Samuel L. Jackson. You know, it's like, and not just him, but there's so many fantastic actors. I just recently finished shooting on Dangerous Liaisons. And the actors in that are sensational. A lot of them from Game of Thrones, but it's really sensational. And so, you know, sometimes your reputation precedes you, and that can be terrifying. But it's always terrifying. The difference is that we just make it look like we do this like it's the easiest thing in the world. But that's where the acting comes in.
Yeah.
Not in the character. It comes in the fact that we just kind of give this air of knowing what we're doing.
Yeah, I was just, because I knew you were in Game of Thrones, and I knew you were in Star Wars. And, you know, I said, I try to do my research on the people that we have on the show and make sure that, like, I know everything that I can know. And I was like, he was in the Hitman's Bodyguard. I was like, that's, and it clicked for me because I watched it like 3 or 4 times. It just never clicked for me. And so I went back and watched the scenes, and I'm like, dude, I don't think I could play that part. I don't think I can do it because just Samuel L. Jackson is just like, do he just shoot you in the head? And you're like, oh yeah. I was like, that's just, it just to me it would be so hard because it's this constant. It's just so funny. It's like, dude, how could you like pay attention? Like, how could you like get into that character and everything that happens in that movie is just funny. It's like, to me, it's one of the funniest movies of all time. And so it's just like, I think about, you know, characters and, you know, the things that you do. You know, I've done a little bit of directing and stuff, and it's, you know, it's like the actor gets into that position, but it's like, dude, like, I can't look at Samuel L. Jackson after watching that movie without laughing. It's just like every time I see him, you just want to laugh. Like, how, that would be so difficult. That would be so difficult.
It is difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult.
So I want to ask how did you originally like get into acting? What made you want to do it? And then what was kind of, I guess, the path you took to get where you are today?
I didn't enjoy school very much. In fact, I hated it from the moment I had to go to the moment I left. I honestly did not get on with school. When you hear all these people about, I love my school, I love my teachers, it was such greatest experience of my life, I made such great friends. That was not me. I hated it. I was terrified. I was thrilled when I didn't have to go in. I just didn't feel like I fitted in. And that lasted until I found a way in, which was drama. I was lucky enough to be able I had an English teacher who did extra curriculum activities, and one of them was drama, and I found my way to connect with school, and that was really what started it. But it was always a hobby. What I really was into was special effects makeup, and that was my thing. So when I used to go to the movies, and when I was growing up, movies like Alien and American Werewolf in London,
Great movies.
Evil Dead. These movies were the ones that I was just a little bit too young to watch, but I really wanted to watch them. I remember seeing that poster for Alien and thinking to myself, fuck me, this film looks amazing. But what's really interesting for a child's mind, or a early teenager's mind, is that you look at it and you think to yourself, that is remarkable. That, like, it leaves because you don't know what it is, you haven't seen it, your imagination fills in the blanks. And the same thing happened with all of these movies until videos came along, and then we could watch them, and that's when I got to see them, because obviously we couldn't see them in the cinema. We ended up, they became, in the UK we had this phenomenon called video nasties, and it was around the time of the Evil Dead being released on video. We had this huge backlash by conservative evangelicals who we have our very own in the UK, who really wanted to ban the movies because they thought that they would indoctrinate us and turn us into demons. And so that was something that, of course, as a teenager, made you want to watch it even more.
Right.
And because we had someone working in the video store who didn't really care, we could rent them out, because we knew them, and they didn't,
Right.
Nowadays, things like that, you'd get in so much trouble, be arrested, you know what would happen. But back then, it was just a little bit like a bit more casual. And so I got to watch movies that I shouldn't have been watching. And it made me, it didn't scare me, it made me recognize. I just thought to myself, the special effects was amazing, and so I spent all my pocket money buying fake blood and prosthetic kind of liquid to make skin, and I would just make fancy dress. I used to remember doing Freddy Krueger for my friend for a fancy dress, and he won the fancy dress competition because I did it so well, and I was obsessed with special effect makeup, and so I thought that's what I was going to do. But in the end, I ended up becoming an actor. But I think I would have liked to have been a special effects makeup artist.
Well, we're glad that you're an actor because you play some great parts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, how can I say this? I've always been, like, special effects have always been one of the things. And now with technology, I've done a lot of stuff where, practical effects, but special effects that you can do. I mean, stuff that people can do at home is just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually did videos with me arguing with myself just because it's fun. You can do it. So special effects is always something that's been one of my key things that I like as well. I just, like, how did they make that? Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah,
that's always been interesting to me because, and Aliens is one of my favorite movies.
Right.
When I was younger, other than it scared the hell out of me. Like, I covered up all the heater vents in my house because I thought the little alien thing was gonna come out, get on my face, and it pissed my mom off too because she was like, "Why is it so cold in this house?" So I had to cover up all the heater vents.
But there's some shows that definitely need that kind of stuff. I mean, think about Game of Thrones, all the fake blood they had to use. Star Wars, all the costumes. Holy crap.
That's one of the things that just blows my mind when it comes to filmmaking is the things that they can do. It's just like, and it seems like they're just pushing the limits. Like every time you turn around, there's something new coming out. And they're doing something different, something that you've never seen before. And you're like, holy crap, man, how did they Who comes up with these ideas?
I know,
And
it's remarkable, isn't it?
It
It
is.
really is remarkable.
And it's just getting better and better and better and better. I think this is, I can imagine what it'll be in 100 years, but I think right now, as somebody, you know, I was born in 77, and how I've seen the progression of things come, it's just been mind-blowing. The things that, and a lot of it we owe to George Lucas, because George Lucas came out with a lot of, you know, especially
Yeah.
CGI and all that type of stuff, but just everybody's pushing the bar now.
Yeah.
Every movie comes out, it's just better than the last one when it comes to special effects and CGI. And you know, now they making people that are, you know, Mark Hamill's young again. You know, like, oh, well, this dude was like, how did you cover that up? He got a whole beard and everything. Like, how did y'all make this guy young? It's like, it's just crazy what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it
amazing.
inspires us. It really does. It inspires me a lot. It really does inspire me to keep wanting to push the boundaries of what we do on this podcast, what I do on, you know, my other podcasts, and just everything from TikTok to Instagram. Like, how can I push the limits on doing something that somebody else isn't doing? How can I be creative? This is just really, right now is the time for the creative. This is like, with just the internet and everything, the time to be creative is now.
And it's also because we all have, well, not all of us, but obviously a lot more people have technology in their hands that can process stuff. You know, you think about what an average iPhone or a Samsung phone, the capabilities it has, you know, that you can shoot stuff, you know, but you could shoot a whole movie on it. You could edit a whole movie on it. It's remarkable that we have the ability now to make our own stuff. So it allows us to do stuff that we would never have been able to do because we would have needed equipment, borrow the equipment, or, you know, I remember my friend making his first short movie about 30 years ago. And it required a whole lot of fundraising and a whole lot of borrowing favors, borrowing equipment, raising money so you can kind of have stuff just to shoot a 15-minute movie. Now you can do it with the phone that I'm talking to you now. It's like, it's remarkable. It really is remarkable.
You know, I've seen some short films they're still up on YouTube that were shot entirely with an iPhone, and they are remarkable. Like, dude, you would not know that they're not a Hollywood production. There's no way you could tell. They had, you know, other than maybe, you know, because the acting wasn't that good or whatever, just because these are amateur actors that are trying to get into the industry. But they're good enough that if you wasn't looking for, you know, every little flaw in it, you would never notice. You would think that this was made on a Hollywood budget, and it's shot with some iPhones. And it's just remarkable how much technology has changed over the years. Especially, I remember when there wasn't even no such thing as computers. Like,
even I remember that.
like, there wasn't no such thing as a computer. Now everybody has a computer in their hand. Like, I think when I started, I think the 5th grade, it was either 4th or 5th grade. It was the early 80s. No, late 80s. And we went in there and we had computer class. Like, what the hell is this big box? You know what I'm saying? The monitor was huge. It only did like 3 things. All the letters was green. You know, it's like there wasn't no color in it at all. And to this point where everybody, I mean, small children walk around with basically a complete production studio phone. Your phone does everything. It's remarkable how times have changed and how fast they change.
Those computers we used when we were at school for computer studies, they were the least intuitive machines, and it really, I don't know about you, but I was not that turned on by doing computer studies. You know, like, I was like, wait, what do you mean? We've got to do code? What does that mean? You know.
It was crazy because I was probably the least technology person in the world. Like, my wife could use a computer. She had to use it at work. stuff like that. And I was like, dude, other than playing, some solitaire on the computer, I didn't know how to do anything. It literally took me, when I first started doing social media and stuff about 10 years ago, it literally took me probably 2 years of watching YouTube videos and stuff to learn how to do everything that I know how to do today. And I still go watch videos because, you can learn how to do anything on YouTube, to get me to a point where I was proficient in video and audio and social media and stuff like that. I probably watched at least 10,000 hours of YouTube videos learning how to do everything that I know how to do now. And I'm still like way down compared to what a lot of other people know how to do. I just got a new phone and I still don't know how to work it. I've had it for like 3 weeks and I still don't know how to work this thing. Because every year they come out with an upgrade and you go get the upgrade and it's completely different than the phone that you had the last time. You're like, man, I don't know how to work nothing on here. I can't even call nobody. Like, push this button until something happens. Yeah. But it's just, and you as being an actor and being in the industry for, quite a bit of time now, how things have changed and the things that, okay, this is what you're going to do. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's not how you do stuff. That got to be very intimidating sometimes with the new technology that they're using.
Yeah, I've never done a lot of green screen, blue screen stuff. Most of it has been, even the stuff that I have done, I remember shooting something for Walking with Beasts, which was a show all about, recreating the life of dinosaurs, prehistoric creatures, like a documentary. I remember they flew us all the way to Alaska to shoot this stuff. And I was out in Alaska. Had full prosthetic. I looked like basically a Neanderthal, and you wouldn't have recognized me. I was in a full prosthetics, like 8-hour job.
Oh,
yeah, it was fantastic. But we were out in Alaska, and the reason we were in Alaska was because it was supposed to represent the end of the Ice Age, and there was some freak weather conditions and the snow had all melted. So they were shoveling snow from one area to another area. And we could have filmed it in Scotland because there was more snow in Scotland than there was in Alaska. And we'd flown all the way to Alaska. But it was an amazing experience. But the reality is that I got hit by a woolly rhino. And I had to do this bungee thing. So they tied me to a bungee and I had to run as fast as I could. And when I hit the appropriate mark, they pinged it so that I would jump in the air and it would look like I got hit by the rhino. And obviously they were going to put the rhino in post-production.
Right.
But it was just the bungee, that snap when you run to the extent of the bungee before you start flying backwards.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, and so we did that over and over again, and there was, and that is the extent of the technological advances. I'm just going to switch on the light because it's getting a bit dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. That's better. But most of the time, everything I do is quite, just me and a couple of actors. I've never done anything particularly action-packed where I'm having to, I don't know. I always think about those kind of shots in Star Wars where they're in the fighter pilot, the fighter pilots, and they're pretending to be in a gun battle, and they're just in a little cockpit having to pretend, like a child. I mean, that kind of stuff I haven't done, but I would love to do that one day because
we hope we get to see you in some stuff like that. I mean, that would be awesome. There's I don't know, I think that sometimes the CGI stuff is a little bit overdone and it takes away from the actors and that feeling. I noticed that a lot of stuff that I've been watching, even in Star Wars, it's been so CGI driven, and it takes away from the acting. It takes away from the story. And I think that that's something that they should try to get back into a little bit more. Get back let the actors give us the feelings that we're supposed to have, not this giant beast that's just destroying cities or whatever. Because the actor is
completely
the one
agree.
that causes you to have that emotional connection to. A lot of people don't understand it, and this is something that I just realized a few years ago, that you get stuck to an actor in the show. That's who you're really following. You're not following the whole show. You're following that actor. You want to know what that actor's going to do. And everybody has a different actor in every show that they like, and or that they connect well with that character. And so it's really the actor that's giving you that emotional feeling. It's not the entire story. It's that whatever that actor is going through. And then when they throw in so much CGI and practical effects and digital effects and stuff, sometimes it takes away from that. So I think that's why your character in Game of Thrones was so connective. You could connect with you so much, is because it was just you and her. You were training her, and it was you. And that's why people connected to you so well, and that's why everybody was so upset when you died. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, how could he die?" Because they were connecting to you, to your character, which is that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, good storytelling has to be like, what is the story? Like, you think about, the very first, A New Hope, and you think about that every character, the arrival of the droids, the arrival of Darth Vader, the introduction of Luke. Every character were so clearly defined. There was a kind of something so vivid that they were unforgettable, every single one. Ben Kenobi, Han Solo. I mean, the list goes on over and over, and each cameo, and there was no throwaway characters. I think we kind of lost the art of writing characters in a really immediate way, and I don't know why that is. I don't know what has happened, but I think we've got worse at writing action films instead of better. There are still a few. Like, I think they did do a good job of the Avengers films. I think the way that that whole stuff was plotted, the idea of introducing Thanos and all of that kind of stuff, and the overarching arc of those films to the conclusion of Endgame, that I think that was a remarkable achievement, because it felt worth it. That felt like a good story to tell. And yet it was, of course, it was full of CGI. Of course, it was full of special effects. Of course, it was full of huge set pieces. But because they'd taken their time, we kind of were invested in these characters. Yep. So when Tony Stark does that thing at the end, it's like, it's devastating, because you go...
Yeah, it broke everybody's heart.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, Tony Stark, Iron Man is dead? Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's really good. And that's why also the film, the penultimate film, what was it? What was the film before?
Infinity Wars.
Yeah, Infinity Wars. That's why, again, that's devastating as well. The fact that it ends with Thanos getting to do what he needs to do is that it's also, you need an element of surprise. We need, if you don't really believe in the peril, then it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter that much, and that's the bottom line, is that you've got to kind of, it's got to matter. It's got to matter to the audience as well as to the characters in that story, and that's why if you get it right, you really get it right. But I think people get a bit lazy. I think people very risk adverse.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's like where they would normally take a risk, nowadays everyone is like, watching their wallets and thinking, is this going to be a flop? Is this going to, there's no rhyme or reason, there's no magic formula for making a hit. Everyone thinks there is. Every time something happens, like Game of Thrones, for example, everyone goes, fantasy, that's the next big thing. Let's make more fantasy. But it doesn't work like that. It's not about it being fantasy. It's about, you think about how many young new actors you'd never seen before, and you thought to yourself, "Wow, I don't know. Maybe we should have a few big names in this thing." But you don't need it if the casting is good, you know. But the casting has to be good. It has to. You know, that's why Nina Gold, whatever she casts, is always going to be good because she's a good caster. She gets the right people.
Yeah.
Well,
And she does her homework, you know, she really does. And also she sees hundreds of people.
and I completely agree with you because when they were making the movies for Avengers and all that stuff, you had each character, so they were connected to that character. If it was Tony Stark or if it was Captain America, that character they connected to, and then they built up to all of them coming together for the Avengers, and it worked great because you were connected to that character. You had something in common, or you felt some way about that character, so it was still character driven instead of
Right.
the story driven as much. You was connected to that character, so you followed the story instead of following the story because the story you was connected to that character. Because really, like the pain and suffering that Captain America was going through, because I think that's the character that I was probably most connected to. He was dead, like times change, he comes back and he's like, okay, well, he wasn't really dead, he was frozen, but, he comes back and, times have changed. And I think that a lot of older people connected with that because how much times have changed. It's like, dude, stuff that, when I was a kid, you can't even do anymore, it doesn't even exist. And you're like, what happened? And I think that's why I connected with that character so much when I was watching. And I think it has a lot to do with why I connected so much with Han Solo in the sequel, well, in 7, because they kind of killed him off. But I connected with that because it's like you got a kid that you don't relate to, and I got 4 kids, and I don't think I relate to any of them very well. And just the way times has changed, and things ain't the same as they used to be. So the character you could connect to the character so much. And I think that that's what they're lacking in storytelling nowadays is there's a lot of the movies and stuff, you just can't connect with the characters. And it's like, okay, what's going on? And then they just dump a bunch of CGI in front of you, make it, big, flashy, and a lot of stuff going on. And it's like, where's the story? What's going on? Like, what's happening?
For me, it just seems like it's just the stories are just a bit more shallow. Instead of stories being the main focus, stories and characters being the main focus and requiring depth and thought and empathizing with what the characters are feeling and going through and telling a message and a story through that. I feel like a lot more movies nowadays are becoming a little bit more shallow, easier to digest, not as engaging. It can still be bright and flashy and exciting, but not as deep, I guess. Does that make sense?
Of course it does. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Has there been a movie you've watched recently that you did really like?
Recently, I don't know.
Top Gun, Maverick.
I
was going to say that because I haven't seen it yet.
Top Gun, Maverick.
I haven't seen it yet, but
you got to watch it.
Everyone I have spoken to a man, woman, and child, have all had the same reaction. There were those obviously that were excited that they'd made it, but then there's a whole bunch of us who are like, they made a sequel for Top Gun. How good is it going to be? And they all were surprised by how much they loved it.
That was me.
It was actually really good.
That was me.
The majority of people that went to the cinema, because I think everyone. I mean, it turned into an enormous hit, and I could have bet it. I could have put money on the fact that it was just going to go nowhere, but. That Tom Cruise, he's a money-making machine. He knows what he's doing when it comes to movie making.
What got me with it was I was one of those people like, dude, they're going to ruin Top Gun. They're coming out with a sequel. It's been, it came out in 1984, 85, whenever it came out. They waited all these years. They're going to ruin it. Just leave it alone. It's Top Gun. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. Leave it alone. You can't make it. Everybody knows the sequel is never as good as the first one.
Exactly, yeah.
And then I watched it. Well, Garrison and our other co-host, he wasn't able to come on today because he had a wedding to go to. And, or wedding rehearsal for his sister. But they're talking about how good it is. I'm like, man, you guys are young. You don't even really remember the first one, So finally, I sat down and I watched it, and it blew my mind. I was like, dude, if it's not as good as the first one, it's better. It had everything that you would want in a movie. It had that suspense. It had, like you said, that just quick, them surprises. You didn't know what was going to happen. He was on constant. He was just like everybody was against him. The new pilots, the old people, all the old people. Everybody was against him. He wasn't going to be able to fly no more. Just everything that was happening to him, and boom, it just completely made everything. Every turn was a surprise. Every turn was something that would just captivated you and just kept to the point that I had to go to the bathroom for the last hour that I was watching it. And I could have just hit pause, but I didn't want to stop watching it because I wanted to see what was going to happen next. And there was some special effects and stuff in there, but it wasn't like super special effecty. It was story driven. It was character driven. And it just made for such a good movie and like I said, I can't say that it was better than the first one, but I can't say that it was worse than the first one. It was like equal to the first one, if not better. And it captivated me. And it's been a long time. I think the last movie that truly captivated me like that, which was, I'd have to say, the last movie that really captivated me like that was probably Avatar, just because it was so different.
That was a good
It was so different that it just made me, I just wanted to watch it. And then probably before that, it was The Matrix, just because it was so different. And it just, like I said, it's them surprising moments that happen over and over in the story that you don't ever know what's going to happen. You cannot guess what's going to happen next. And that's the type of thing that you want to feel when you're watching a movie. You want to feel excited. And that's what it offered.
It's a really good, Carl, that's really interesting what you just said, because I think those two movies I have the same feeling about, Avatar and The Matrix. The Matrix, when I first saw it, literally blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is an amazing movie. Interestingly, with Avatar, I remember going to see it in 3D at the cinema when it first came out. And I was like, okay, this kind of looks pretty, but I feel like the 3D got in the way. And then I watched it again a year later at the cinema without the 3D, and I fell in love with it. And now whenever it comes on TV, I watch it no matter how many times. And I'm not the kind of person that watches movies over and over again, but with Avatar, it doesn't matter what the mood I'm in. Well, as soon as I start watching it, it transports me.
Yep.
And I get so involved in the story, even though I know exactly from moment to moment what's going to happen. I can't stop watching it. It's the same feeling I have when I watch The Godfather. The Godfather again.
Ooh.
I always go, these are long movies. I'm not going to sit and watch it. 3 hours later, I'm like this, like gripped, like I've never seen it before.
And that was just,
that's the power of a good movie.
And it comes back down to the acting, the story. You got to have good acting and good story. If you don't have them two things, all the CGI stuff, because, Avatar and Matrix are just both of them. They're just filled with CGI stuff. The whole movies are CGI. But it never becomes so distracting that it takes away from the acting and the story. The acting was excellent in it, and the story was excellent. And that's what makes it...
And that ruthless sergeant is so good.
Very good.
He makes you, that's the kind of thing. It's actually very simple storytelling. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that James Cameron uses the same story over and over again and just mixes it up a bit. But but those moments, it's like they're chiseled out of stone. Like they will never ever stop having the effect that they need to have. You know, that whole thing of having an excellent, unstoppable bad guy. You know, but you got to believe that they will go to any lengths to get what they want, and that's what makes them dangerous, and that's what makes you love watching them, because you just think any moment they're gonna do the thing that they want to do. You know, you don't ever, you know, the last thing you want is a bad guy who you don't really believe is going to do what he's going to do. That's a terrible mistake to have in a movie or in a story. They've got to be dangerous. The other thing is that you have a moment of crisis, like something terrible happens that you have to then overcome. And he has those always in his movies, but they're fantastic. And it you know, it doesn't matter that he recycles his storylines or his then
I guess main
the
plot.
kind of the kind of the archetypal
Right.
storytelling that he does, you know, because it's always it always works, and we believe it. And the most important thing is that you need to just believe it, and if you believe it, you're just going to enjoy it.
I was watching it's a documentary on filmmaking. I can't remember the name of it right now. But that was one of the things that was said, and I think it was said by Scorsese, said it. He said, you don't cast a movie based on the hero. You cast a movie based on the protagonist. Once you got him, who's going to be the bad guy? Who's going to be the evil, you know, person that you just hate? Then you cast around him, and that's how you make a great movie. And I didn't get it years ago, but as watching movies and seeing, like, the bad guy has to be a good bad guy. If the bad guy is not a good bad guy, then everybody else kind of doesn't really matter, because you're not going to be invested into the movie, because you want to see the hero beat the bad guy. But if he's not a good bad guy, it's like, this is going to be easy for him. Why am I even watching this? The protagonist or the situation that is the evil, because sometimes there's just not a bad guy. Because, I mean, you got Armageddon, which is a great movie, and it's the meteorite flying in, but it's that evil that's gonna happen. It's gonna destroy everything and ruin everything that captivates you in a story. Yeah. If you don't have that, you might as well just chalk it up. And that's what I've noticed over the years of watching movies and stuff. I mean, come on, there's a reason that the Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader were so, you know, they're probably the greatest bad guys of all time, because it was the entire galaxy. It wasn't just, you know, your country or, you know, your kid or something. It was the entire galaxy that they were conquering and taking over, and they were so bad that it made them the greatest bad guys of all time. Could you imagine watching Star Wars with no Darth Vader? Like, it would be like, doing, what is happening? This is garbage. I don't want to watch this. Darth Vader made Star Wars what Star Wars was. And I think that's where one of the places that, you know, that made it so good, because they had this good bad guy. They had Darth Vader, and then they stuck an even more bad guy behind him. Like, because at first, you didn't know anything about, in New Hope, you didn't know anything about the Emperor, the Palpatine. Like, he was like, you barely even, I think they brought him up like once, you know, but then they made it even better, because now he got a worse bad guy. Like, really, is worse than Darth Vader? Oh, this guy's just really the bad guy.
True. It's so true. And to introduce him the way that they introduce him, you know, that first time when you see him and he, you know, boards the ship. And I think it's kind of quite bold. I reckon, thinking about it, I bet at the time it was really, I bet a lot of people were like, seriously, you've got the main antagonist, the bad guy, is going to be in a mask, and he's going to be rasping. It's like, you could imagine some people going, is that really a good idea? But, you know, it's a brilliant idea. You know, the mystery of him, you know, with obviously the awesome voice and the ability to choke you just by pinching his fingers. That was horrifying. Yeah, that is what it's all about. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you, Kyle. I think these things are really important, and to be surprised. Ultimately, you don't want to know where you're going to go in a story. You need to, and also, even when you know the story, if a film is well made, if a story is well told, you can watch that movie again and again and again, and it doesn't matter how many times you watch those moments and you know that they're coming, they will still surprise you, or they will still give you the same, that kind of buzz, because you know it's going to happen, because of how it's directed, or how it pulls you along, in the way that director has decided to show you that story, and that's real skill. I always take my hat off to directors and writers who can create that.
It's when you break down the sequence of things, even if you know what's going to, because there's like movies that I'll go back, like Aliens. We talked about Aliens. I still can go back and watch Aliens, and I will still see something that I did not see when I originally watched it, and it recreates the whole story for me again. It's that surprise. I want to be surprised. I want to be so enthused, and when the surprise happened, I jump and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. When a director or a writer can continuously do that, that's what just draws you in, and you just can't help but to watch it.
I agree.
So it's
That was spooky.
Like come and go.
But it's that emotional. Movies is about your emotions. I've always believed this, that movies are about your emotions. Even with us being on this podcast, we try to get people laughing and having fun and being interested in the things that we're talking about. So, when we're sitting down and we're coming up with the different themes, what is going to capture a person's ability to want to watch you? Because, there's 1,000 podcasts out there. They can go watch any one of them or listen to any one of them. What are we going to do that's different? And one of the things is we're just outrageous. We just do outrageous shit. Usually. Most people don't cuss on their podcast. Like, no, we're going to come on here. We're just going to be ourselves. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about things that nobody else talks about. That's what the restrictiveness that Hollywood and, entertainment and everything puts on everybody anymore. I think Joe Rogan said it the best. He said, when you start trying to put a cap on creativity, that's when you ruin creativity. And that's just something that sparked with me. You have to be able to be creative. We're not being serious. We're just having a good time. We're talking about something that we love and we care about. And we have fun doing it. If you're not going to have fun doing it, ain't no point in doing it. And I think that's one of the things that, when you got a real good writer and a real good director and real good cast, and that people are caring about the story and everything, it shows. It really shows. And when you take that away and you start, like you said, kind of having that restricted on, we're not gonna take that risk because money or creative process, or I don't think we can do that, or whatever the situation may be, it ruins the movie. It ruins the story, and it draws you away from the characters that you're trying to get to learn this character. You're trying to relate to the character, and you can't relate to a character that's holding back. You just can't.
And you've got to think about how much process is gone through, even before one single frame is shot. Like the pre-production of a movie, of getting it made, of getting directors in place, getting actors in place, a producer who understands the director, so is going to trust them to make the movie their way. There's so much process. The amount of writers they get through. They start with an original script, and then it ends up kind of being changed, and someone gets involved. Like, it's amazing that any movie is successful in any way because of the levels of process and people sticking their fingers in. You think, okay, surely, what's that expression? Too many chefs spoil the broth.
Yep.
So there is a tendency that the more the people that get involved who have an opinion, the worse it's going to be. But it's the process is a very, very intricate, complicated, long-winded process, and it's an amazing feat that any movie gets made, because it sometimes you just think, I don't know how people manage it, you know, like getting a movie just to the stage of filming it is a remarkable feat in itself. But you know, it requires a lot of people who are willing to trust each other, because if you don't trust the person that is being creative, you will end up alienating them, because you will want to do things. If you don't trust their vision, you will kind of start, you know, giving your advice and saying, maybe we should do this, and maybe, you know, there's a very famous producer in London theatre who is for whether you like his work or not, the stuff that he puts on stage, he is a brilliant mind when it comes to understanding what makes a successful theatre show and what doesn't. And I remember a friend of mine was directing for him, and he was doing a West End show, and he said, do you want this show to make you a millionaire? He asked him this question, and the director was like a bit taken aback, and he was like, I guess it would be great. You know, he said, do you want it to make you a millionaire? You have to tell me whether that is what you want, because if you want that, we will change the show into a show that makes you a millionaire. Otherwise, keep it like this. You'll get great reviews, but I guarantee you it will be closed by the end of the year. And he's right. He was right.
Yeah.
But it's a choice, you know, because there are ways of you know, putting the stuff in, putting the little details in that will kind of get the, you know, it's very easy to manipulate people, audiences in the theatre.
Yeah.
In the same way, it's very easy to manipulate human beings, you know, like you just need, you know, the right charismatic person to kind of like, but so the reality is that is what the creative process is like. So it can always get interfered with, because money is always an issue, because, you know, it's not as simple as, you know, do you want to be a million? I mean, this is a ridiculous example, what I just gave you, but it's not as simple as, do you want to be a millionaire or not? But it is about, do you make commercially successful work, or do you stick to your guns and you tell your story,
Right,
and make it on your terms? Because there can be a difference.
oh, big time, yeah.
Because of course sometimes things get taken up. Small independent movies suddenly get picked up. They're found at a festival. Everyone talks about them. They get a general release. Everyone wants to go and see them. They become successful. They win an Oscar. You know, there is that. But the majority of the time, people are looking, using that magic formula, thinking that if we do this and this and this, surely people will come and see this story. I find it fascinating. I'm so glad I'm just an actor. I don't have to deal with all that bullshit. But
Oh yeah,
but
that's
I have
just,
to say it's fascinating.
I don't watch it. I just got done watching that documentary on Vice TV about Star Wars, and I don't know how directors do it. I don't. I mean, they put George in the hospital when he was making New Hope, because it was just so much stress. There's just so much going on, and you're trying to tell your story, and you're trying to direct everybody and try to get everybody to do what you want them to do, and people want to argue, and people want to, you know, do all this other stuff. It's like, no, I don't think I could do it. I mean,
It's
and the
kind of
little
like
stuff.
it's like the fine line between doing it for the art and doing it for the business, you know? Like,
Yeah, you have to get. It just
Yeah,
seems way too
and there's
stressful.
going to be I guarantee you've got people from the studio or from somewhere who have influence
right.
saying, you know, are you sure you want to do it like that? Is that really how you're going to do it? You know, imagine you've got to be pretty strong-willed and strong-minded to handle that kind of interference.
I shot a short film. It took 8 hours to shoot it. It was real short. It was only less than 5 minutes long. And directing that and trying to get everybody to do it it was like one of the most stressful days of my entire life. Like, dude, this is just so much harder than what it seems like that they want to do. And it was literally like a 5 minute long, and we shot it. It took us about 8 hours to shoot everything, get all the footage and everything. And then after it was cut down, it was only like 5. It was like a micro short. And I'm like, dude, this is like the most, like, that was like the most stressful day ever. Like, just to get 5 minutes of footage, 8 hours, like, oh, it was terrible. But we got it done, and it did pretty well. So, I mean, I can't complain too bad, but it was just one of those things that, like, I was like, oh man, and I want to do more of them because it's like very addictive when you do them. And I've done longer ones, but they were a lot. The story was a lot less driven than that 5 minute one. And I have other ones that I want to do. The hard part is just where I live. You know, I live in a college town. You think there would be a lot more people that want to, you know, do some acting, but I can't find no actors nowhere here.
You're kidding me. Where are you from, Kyle? Where are you living?
Originally, I'm from California, but right now I live in Columbia, Missouri, where Mizzou is at.
We could have sorted that out because there's bound to be actors, but we need to get them from underneath wherever they're hidden.
Yeah, well,
Dude,
you would think in a college town.
That sounds fun.
You know, I put out some stuff on the city webpage and their Facebook and stuff, and just nobody responded. So I'm like, all right, you know, I got tired of asking. But it's like,
listen, whenever I'm going to get asked now, whenever I get asked, I'm going to say, if there are any actors in Missouri, gotta get in touch.
I'm pretty sure there's people in St. Louis and Kansas City, because I live right in the middle of St. Louis and Kansas City. That's where Columbia is at. And I'm pretty sure I can find people in St. Louis and Kansas City. But I'm like trying to find some local people here, some people that, you know, we need to reshoot something or something goes wrong or something. That everybody's right here in the town. And I'm like, dude, the reason I moved here is because it's a college town. That's one of the reasons I moved here. Was it's a college town. I should be able to do stuff. There should be, you know, young actors that are trying to get into the industry, and that's a good way. You know, you should. That's where you started. You start off shooting short films and doing, you know, like they don't even have they have one film festival here a year, and it's like real little, and it's like, what? This is like, what is going on? Like, this is just not. Which I moved here from Denver, Colorado, which is huge, and you know, there's people doing stuff everywhere, but. It's one of those things. I'll get it done. Sooner or later, I'll find some people. Because I have 2 short films. One's going to be about 22 minutes, and the other one will roughly be about 30 minutes, and they're both Star Wars based that I got written. I was just
in a musical in high school. That's all I got.
Okay, so we do a thing on our show at the end of every single one of our shows where we do, it's the Star Wars Impossible quiz. Now,
it's
in the Star Wars,
impossible.
Yeah, I don't even think George Lucas knows the answers. I think the only person that might know the answers to all these questions is Dave Filoni, because everybody keeps telling me Dave Filoni knows everything there is to know about Star Wars. So we're trying to get Dave on the show, because I'm like, I bet you I can stump you, but we'll have to see. So with the Impossible quiz, nobody knows the answers to these questions, ever. I mean, I didn't even know them when I wrote them. Okay. So and if you don't know the answer, you just say something funny. That's the key word. Just say something funny. Because a lot of times I don't even know who these characters are. Like, who is this character? So just say, come up with something funny. So it's 10 questions. We're going to run through them right now. You want to hit the button, Garrison?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I wasn't ready. That's my bad.
Hey, what happened?
Stop right there, you rebel scum. Prepare yourself for the Star Wars Impossible quiz. Blast them.
Okay.
There we go.
So question number 1. Who was Aurora Singh's Jedi Master?
A what? Jedi Master?
Aurora Singh, the bounty hunter Aurora Singh. Who was her Jedi Master?
Dude, I don't know.
It's like, I don't even know who these characters are.
No idea.
Most people don't know. You don't know? Nobody knows?
Dude, I don't know.
Okay, so the answer is Singh was taken off from the moon by a Jedi known as the Dark Woman and trained on Coruscant. Her
That's a
name is
Jedi?
just the Dark
The Dark
Woman.
Woman. That's not
The
a
Dark
Jedi. Are you
That's-
sure?
She was took her back to Coruscant trade, so I was like, I don't know. I said that's a good one. Okay,
I love that. I love it. Dark Woman. Yeah, why not?
yeah, why not? Okay, and that came out of the encyclopedia. So whoever this Dark Woman is, I guess she was a Jedi.
She wrote her Wikipedia entry. That's for sure.
Yeah, she
Go
wrote
on.
it. Who were the Sith?
Who were the Sith?
Yeah.
Wait, that's the question? What was a Sith?
Who were the
This-
Sith?
The Sith were like a cult of people who could use the Force, but decided to use it in a particularly non-generous ways. Maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah, are you talking?
But I'm
hold
sure
on, are you
that
talking
sounds
about,
like a.
the Sith, like bad guys. You're talking about the species, Kyle.
Okay, now you're getting closer, Garrison.
So the Sith were actually a particular kind of person. It had nothing to do with what they believed in.
At first, they were a species, and then they got
Shit.
adopted into being like a following. Yeah.
So
Wow.
the
So the-
Okay.
here goes what the encyclopedia says. The Sith were a species that were native to the planet Korriban. They were characterized by their dark red skin and facial tendrils.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had red skin and they had things dangling off their face.
Like Davy Jones in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but shorter.
That's a good one. Okay, we all have heard about the new show called The Acolyte. Who were the Sith Acolytes?
They were like followers, like of the dark side, that were like force sensitive, like just devotees to the Sith religion.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Oh, so the bad Force, not the good Force.
So what the
Yeah.
encyclopedia says, acolytes were dark sorcerers and priests, practitioners living sacrifices and based on deception. So that's who the Sith acolytes were.
So like
Which-
good
Good.
sorcery.
So we've been on here for weeks now talking about the acolyte coming out and talking about acolyte means Sith apprentice, and that's not what it means. So we were wrong. Our bad.
That's
Okay.
not true. That's,
That's
not
not
true.
true.
Maybe you're reading it from the encyclopedia, so you.
I'm
can't be
reading
wrong.
from the Star Wars encyclopedia.
Damn them! They're just making it up as they go along.
Yeah. Hey, we thought they were like I was always under the impression that the Sith acolyte was their apprentice. That was their apprentice. So Darth Vader was a Sith acolyte to Palpatine, but that's not the truth. So we might not be the acolyte series that comes out might not be about a Sith apprentice. So it might be about these dark sorceress priest people. Okay, why were snowtroopers able to work in sub-zero weather as we seen during the Battle of Hoth?
Because they had really thick coats.
They
No.
didn't have coats. They looked like regular
Big jackets.
stormtroopers, except they had them long helmets.
Yeah, dude. They got like warm insulation.
That's kind of right.
Bad. Oh, okay. I just thought it's because they were dumber than most stormtroopers.
That could probably be the part too.
Weather the cold weather. They were
They still
so
couldn't
dumb.
shoot nothing. Actually,
Go on, tell us.
okay, so the answer is beneath the snowtroopers' light armor was a pair of durable heated pants and a shirt. They had heated shirts and heated pants.
Nice. That sounds nice.
Like I didn't know that.
I would have. So you got an imposter. You got it right.
I didn't even know that
Garrison.
they wore anything under there
Yeah.
before I, wrote
said,
the
like,
questions.
fancy technology, Kyle. I deserve that point.
Okay, I'll give
I
you that
think
one.
we got it. I mean, it's as close as we're ever going to get to 1 point this week. Surely.
Okay. Question number 5. How long was Han Solo encased in carbonite?
Oh shoot. 5 years. No, that seems excessive.
Yeah, that's a long time. 5 years. Holy crap.
I say 2
Almost
years.
a year.
Because it's enough time for like Luke to like get the new hand and become a Jedi,
Yeah.
not a punk anymore. So like 2-3 years. How's that?
Actually, Miltos got it right. About 1
About
year
a
or
year.
so. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
About 1 year or
I'm
so.
an idiot.
I'm afraid that I would love to say that it's because I knew it, but it's kind of a guess.
Most of the time when people do get it right, it's a guess because it's a guess. Yeah, I was like Garrison when I first read the thing. I was like, that can't be right, man. He had to be like Luke became a Jedi, had got his hand, they gave the droids to Jabba, the Princess Leia came and tried to get him out. The whole time what's his face was, got involved into the organization and all the stuff. It had to be more than a year. They only took him a year to do that. That seems like a little bit quick, but I guess that's right. That's what the encyclopedia said. Okay, question number 6. What was the other name for the space slug that Han flew the Falcon into during The Empire Strikes Back?
Oh, crap. I know this.
Rock Eater. Rocky. I don't know.
Oh.
Nope.
Golly. I don't remember, dude.
And this is like weird because I don't know where they came up with this name at, but this is George Lucas that we're talking about. He just named stuff. It's called an exogirth. Yeah, like an exogirth. Like, where did you come up with this name, exogirth? Okay.
It's a good name.
Question number 7. During the Battle of Naboo, the droids flew a small repulsor lift vehicle designed to carry a single tray Federation battle droid around. What were they called?
Oh, I know like the one that Qui-Gon deflects and beats, right?
Yeah. It's like the little thing that they just riding on. It looks like a flying
Leia has him in Battlefront. ST-11 or something? No, no. No, hold on.
Garrison, I'm so impressed. This is impressive by itself.
Battlefront. Hold on. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's going to be some weird acronym with some numbers.
It's not even got no numbers in it. It's called a STAP. STAP. Single Trooper Aerial Platform.
STAP.
I was like, really? A STAP? That's what they called it? A STAP? Not even like flying something, a STAP. Okay, question number 8. What was the name that was given to Han Solo's little organization on Abdu 3 from the Cloud Riders?
From the Cloud?
We talked about one of the members before.
The Cloud Riders?
Smugglers are us.
That would be a good name, but that's not it.
That's it.
They were actually called the Star Hoppers.
The Star Hoppers.
Okay.
That's actually kind of cool. I don't mind that.
Can you name any of the members of the Star Hoppers other than Han Solo and Chewbacca? Because they're in there.
Luke Starhopper. It's like Skywalker, but
that's funny, but no. So we actually talked about one of the other characters.
Lando.
Huh?
Lando Calrissian.
Nope.
That was a good guess.
It was a good guess, but no.
Black Chrysanthemum.
Nope. Black Chrysanthemum tried to kill him.
I don't know.
All right. The answer is, so we got... Go ahead.
Woody Harrelson's character in the Solo. What was his name?
What is his name?
Hold on.
I don't remember what his name is. My brain just...
Tobias Beckett.
Yeah, no. That's not it.
Okay.
Okay, here goes the answers. You got Han Solo, Chewbacca, Jackson, Amaza, Don Juan, Quixote, Haji,
Nice, I like Key.
Jim Starkiller Kid, and FE9Q.
What the fuck?
Jim Starkiller Kid.
Jim
I love
Starkiller
that.
Kid?
I want him to have a TV show.
That's the dopest name.
How many times are they going to use Star Killer for something? You got Star Killer Base, you got Star Killer in the video game, you got the Star Killer Kid. There's so many Star Killers in, everybody's a Star Killer. Only person I knew other than Han Solo and Chewbacca was Jackson, the rabbit. Remember we talked about the rabbit? Jackson, the rabbit that was part of their crew. Okay. Now this is, y'all might get this one. I made this one real easy. What was the name of the weapon on the Death Star that blew up Alderaan? What was the name of that weapon?
I thought it was just.
So the Death Star is the whole thing. The actual shooting thing had a name. What was this name?
A laser.
That's part of it.
The something cannon.
It was something
cannon.
Laser.
Oh,
the super
something
laser.
Well, then it's got the Star Killer laser, the laser,
The super bad laser.
the Amazer laser.
Actually, it was called the Super Laser.
Hey!
Like, really? Y'all named it the Super Laser?
The laser kid, but
The Super Laser, which I think Star Killer based laser was way better than the Death Star laser. It blew up 5 planets at one time.
well, that was good.
Did you know that the actual laser on the Death Star could only shoot one time every 24 hours?
I like that. That makes sense.
But on the second
make
Death
it
Star,
two
it could
PS.
charge in every few minutes.
Oh yeah, that's right, because it's blowing up like ships in it. That's cool. I like that. I like that little design upgrade.
So that was the impossible quiz.
Cool. But we got 2 right though, didn't we?
Yep, y'all got 2 right. You got
That's,
one and Garrison got one.
Yeah. I would consider that a success.
Yeah.
I would. We still failed, but we did. We at least tried. We
What
put
was
a
it? Not
lot
last
on
week. The week before that, didn't nobody get one right at all.
I don't think
That's most weeks. Nobody gets them. Hey, the messed up thing about it is I forgot to do it, and I did it. I did all these questions in like 30 minutes this morning.
Those are great questions too.
I just ran. If you notice, they all start with the
They're
letter
great
S.
questions because actually,
So it's a lot of fun. One of these days, we're gonna get Dave Filoni on here and see how many he can get right. When we know Dave Filoni's coming on here, I'm gonna write like 30 of them.
yeah, it's great.
Because
Good old Dave.
they say he knows everything there is to know about Star Wars. I think he wrote the encyclopedia.
I got all these questions from the Star Wars Encyclopedia. He's like, I wrote that mother trucker.
Yeah, I'm winning definitely. Well, Miltos, thank you for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. You were great. I mean, just the insight that you have on all the different stuff that you did was just phenomenal.
I appreciate it, guys. I really do. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to talk to you. It's always good to kind of talk about movies and movie making, and you know, I really love it. I love talking about it.
Yeah. It was definitely a blast, and we appreciate all your insights with just movies in general, like not just the movies you've been in, but like the art behind it and like the production behind it.
Thank you. It's why we love it, isn't it? It's why we love it. We both love it. We all love it for the same reason, because we like being told stories, and we like to be, you know, we like to be transported, and you know, that's why we love these stories so much. That's why we put up with a lot of rubbish because we're always looking for the next great story. That is the thing. That's always the thing. So it's always nice to talk about it with other people who love it as much.
And it's, you know, you would think that there would be a lot more people talking about it. It's like one thing that everybody does. Everybody watches TV and movies. Everybody. There's like nobody that just, I guess there's a few people out there probably somewhere that just, you know, like the Amish, you know, that don't use electricity or something.
Like the Amish.
There's people out there that just don't use electricity, but everybody else watches movies and TV and listens to radio and stuff. So it's like, why isn't more people talking about the one thing that we all have in common? It's one thing that we all have in common, that we all watch some type of TV or movies or something.
I always think it's like, for most people, it's like they just don't want to know how it's done. I think they like, it's like, for them, it's like, don't tell me how a sausage is made. I just want to have the sausage. But I'm not saying that because I know that for a fact, but I feel like a lot of people just don't, they like to be transported, but the finding out how you make it is, I think it's always, because the weird thing is it's always different, right? There's always going to be something that happens I think one of the saddest things that ended with the death of DVDs, you know, when everything decided to go online and then we had to stream everything. One of the saddest things was the fact that the only reason you would buy a DVD is for the commentary or for the extras, because those were the
I
cool
miss those
stuff.
so much.
I know, we all miss it, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I think that obviously it took a lot of time. You know, directors, imagine how much time you'd have to sit down and do those things. But I don't know. I really found that as exciting as the movie itself, especially a film that you knew quite well, to know exactly what their thinking was when they made this, or the problems that they had when they made it. Because what you'll find is that sometimes a scene isn't the scene that's written down, but it ends up being an amazing scene, but not because they planned it like that, but because that they had to do something different. Because of limitations and whatever, but you know, whenever you've got an obstacle like that, you find filmmakers who are really good always find another way to tell that story. So I find all that stuff very fascinating, and I think it's a real shame that now everything is streamed, that we don't really, it doesn't exist anymore, does it really?
Well, kind of, because now they just come out with the making of.
Oh,
they come out with a whole, because like Disney,
quite...
they got like the making of everything. I know my wife hates that I got into filmmaking and stuff like that, because she gets mad because I tell her all the mistakes that they make when I'm watching it. Like, you see that green screen right there? See, that's not supposed to be there. That editor messed up. They let that one slide. She's like, just shut up and watch the damn movie. It's fun for me to analyze the movie. It's fun for me to catch those things, because the normal person doesn't catch those things. And it brings me excitement, because then I know exactly how they did it. When you catch that little bitty thing that nobody else is going to notice, you knew what they did. Okay, they're shooting this on a green screen, so they're in studio. It's not practical effects, you know. And she'll be like, shut up, just watch the movie. Why can't you just watch the movie? You see how that guy's mouth wasn't matching when the ADR, that his mouth wasn't matching up with the words? Or did you hear that gunshot off? It went off 2 seconds before the gun actually blasted out. That they messed that up. She'd be like, shut the hell up, just watch the movie. Why you gotta tell me all this? That's what I do. It's not that I'm putting the movie down. I still love the movie, and I appreciate everything in the movie. I just notice little things now because I've done it. And I think that's one. That's what's fun to me, because I'm trying to think the whole time while I'm watching something, how would I have done this? Could I have done this different to make it better? Or if I would have done it a certain way, there's a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I'd have done that like that. And I'm like, no, that would have been stupid. Everybody would have hated the movie if I'd have done it like that. Well, that's why I'm not the director of the movie. But it's just, to me, that's what's fun. I love to know the behind the scenes. I love to know what they did to make it. Like we were talking earlier, just the makeup and all that stuff to make these creatures and to make different things. That's just fascinating to me. It's like, this is so cool that they actually do that. Well, I think it's about that time to wrap it up, because I know I got stuff I got to go get done. And I know we've kept you on here for about almost 2 hours now. I know you probably trying to get some rest. You just got back in from filming, but we would love to have you back on again if you wouldn't mind, and come back on, talk to us about some new stuff, because you're filming something, so I know you got something coming out here pretty soon. So we'd love to know about it.
Yeah.
NDR.
Maybe around Christmas time. We'll do something.
Okay, that'll work.
That's a hit.
Yeah, that's coming up. All right. So we will see you guys on Wednesday. Yep. Peace, and may the force be with you.
Oh, and what do we say to the god of death?
Not today.
Yes. Yes.
See you guys. Pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to LSR. If you've enjoyed the show, consider subscribing so you can be notified when new episodes are released. If you would like to be a guest on the show, or just want to give us some feedback, feel free to email us. You can also reach out to us on all major social media platforms. LightSaber Radio is produced by PicFilm Media and is a Swaycast original, starring Garrison Turcotte, CJ Elliott, and Kyle McDaniel. And don't forget to join us next time for more adventures in a galaxy far, far away.